Welcome to part 3 of my family filmmaking editing series. If you watched parts 1 and 2, you might have heard me say that this was going to be a 2-part series. Well, we're stretching it into 3, okay? So bear with me. We are going to today talk about how we're going to finish up the film, how we're going to color correct, fix audio, do any other minor tweaks we need to do, and then export the film. Be sure to go back to part 1 where we talk about labeling slow motion films. We talk about separating scenes, and I also talk about scrubbing through the clips and getting rid of the junk. Then be sure to head over to video 2 where we talked about picking out music. We talked about choosing your story sequence and assembling the family's story. Hey, I'm Jen. I'm a family filmmaker and photographer, and I'm your guide to adding video services to your already established photography businesses, especially family films. Today's lesson starts after we've already assembled the film. I found all the clips I want to use. They are in the order I want them. They are timed to the music. Any audio that I'm going to be using, that's spoken audio, has been synced with the clips, and it is accounted for. The story is in order from beginning to end, draft 1. Now, it's important to note that I never deliver the first draft of a family's film to them. It is always necessary for you to go back and tweak and make sure that your story makes sense after your brain has had a break. So after I have all of that finished, I like to take a night, sleep on it, and then whenever the next time is that I come back and edit, this is when I'm going to watch the film from beginning to end. I'm going to swap out any clips that I don't like with clips that I do, get rid of anything that's not servicing the story. I'm going to adjust my audio levels to make sure everything matches. I'm going to color correct, add any finishing touches, and then of course export the film. One really fun thing I like to do is I like to use my B-roll clips as transitions. Let me show you how I'm going to add a fade effect to one of my clips to actually use it as a transition. I'm going to show you how I'm going to create a little bit of excitement with this clip. Do you notice how I have, let me really zoom in here. I have my slow motion grass clip, and I've added an additive dissolve and a film dissolve. So that means it's going to come in from black and it's going to dissolve away. I'm going to make this clip blend into the other two and sort of seem like they're like all the clips are blending together. So I do want this clip to be there, but I also want it to kind of blend over the top of the bike. See how that sort of blends together? A great way to do this is we're going to add the additive dissolve to the front end of the clip. We're going to add the film dissolve to the back end of the clip. But I'm also going to click on the clip I want, go to the opacity over in your effects control, and I'm going to hit screen right here. So now my opacity blend mode is screen, and that's just going to help everything really blend together. So I'm going to make sure that my additive dissolve, and you could adjust these transitions as well. So I might make that a little bit shorter, and I'm going to also add a film dissolve to the bike clip, and just sort of make sure that these are overlapping. So now what's going to happen is they're going to blend together. Then we're going to get the clip of the grass. Let me time this, hang on. So right about here is where the music would naturally, I'd want to blend into this clip. So let me just take this and move it backwards. I'm going to shorten this film dissolve. And I'm going to add an additive dissolve to this one, shorten that. And now with our blend mode, they're going to really seamlessly go together. So this is just a way to transition your clips that gives a little bit more of a dynamic feel than just cutting directly into the next clip or just doing a cross dissolve. So let me show you what that looks like here. So they're kind of blending together. And then now I can do this. And then my natural break is right there. And now she's going to start singing. So I'm going to show the house from the road. So I can either have it going to the right, or did I get a clip of it going to the left? I think I did over here. Oh, nope, it was all to the right. So that's fine. You have a couple options here. So there we go. That's about the amount of clip I like. I'm going to pull it up. Now I need to trim it. About right there is my natural break. I'm just going to trim that clip. Now let's say I actually wanted the clip to be faster than this and to go further so that it actually ended there, but it doesn't time with my music the right way. So I'm gonna click on my clip, right click, and go to speed duration. And then I am going to just speed the clip up a little bit. So I might try 175, and that gets me closer to where I want the end to be. There was my natural break. So let's see what that looks like. There we go. Next, we're going to talk a little bit about audio and how we can make sure that our audio is tweaked and adjusted so that it has a professional look and feel for your client's final film. Before we do, be sure to like this video and leave me a comment with, do you do family films and do you include spoken audio with your films? When it comes to any portions of my film where the family has audio spoken parts, I do want to make sure that all of the levels of that audio match. I don't want part of it to be super loud and part of it to be super soft. So let me show you how I go through and do that. All right, so I've gone through, I have watched my film one more time. I've made any swaps. I have double checked that I have all the clips exactly where I want them. The next step I would do would go through and I would listen to where any parts where I have spoken audio or ambient audio and make sure that my audio levels are appropriate. And I'm gonna really make sure that everything sort of blends together seamlessly. So it looks like I upped the sound here a little bit so that you could hear them getting off the bus and talking. And then some of this ambient audio is not super important, but I do want it. And another important part, like I'm gonna make sure I go to where they're showing me their rooms, which would be right here. And I'm just going to double check that my audio is hitting between the 12 and the 6. Over here on your levels is about the sweet spot for audio.
I have a curly, but this is my own curly.
So again, if that needs to be adjusted, a couple different ways I can do that. I can take the line here in the middle and I can adjust it up and down. I can also right click, go to audio gain, and then you can adjust the gain by doing a negative number, whoops, like, and it's going to show you what the gain is now. Or I can go, if I want it to be louder, I would do a positive, and you can see the sound waves got higher when I did that. You're just basically adjusting the decibel level of your audio output. Just going to go through and I'm going to literally listen to every piece of audio, make sure that it is in the spot where I want it to be. That sounded a little loud right there.
Second place, BMX place.
And sometimes, see, it looks like my audio either wasn't good or, oh, I think I had taken the microphone off her already. And then she decided to show me her medal. So instead of remiking her, I just got close and I'm using the camera audio here. So
BMX place.
Again, not as clear, but it's fine.
Disney World.
One thing I want to point out is right here, I started talking, I said hi to him, and I don't mind that that's in there, but it was really loud. So what I did was you can take this tool right here, the pen tool, and you can make a point in the line and then another point, and you can literally drag your audio up and down. So I just made it quieter where I talked so that it wasn't so obvious. There we go. Sometimes there's a section of my film where the family is speaking and saying something, and I definitely want my viewers, my audience, to be able to hear that. And sometimes in such cases, you might want to differentiate your spoken audio from your music. So let me show you exactly what I mean. The kids have this song they sing when they get home every day from school. What I would do here is I would actually cut my song. So I'm gonna actually cut the song off where they start singing. And I'm going to just hit the V key to disable that clip. This little box right here, if you pull that, it's showing you that it's fading it. Now that was too quick, so I'm gonna make it a little bit longer. But what I'm also going to do is fade this in, and then I might pull it so that they sing a little bit more. Let's see what that sounds like. So to bring it back, again, I'm going to fade it, and I might pull this a little bit here. Let's see. So there's just how I could isolate the fact that they're singing this song. You could just fade your music out, let the kids do their song, and then bring it back in. And to take this one step further, I'm going to show you a hack that I have with choosing music in order to make this transition as smooth as possible. Here I am inside of Epidemic Sound. This is the royalty-free music provider that I subscribe to. I do pay a fee in order to be able to download the songs. Definitely recommend Epidemic Sound. I love their selection. When it comes to picking out your music, especially if you want to use a song that has a vocal track, so there's somebody singing on it. For example, this song I already have saved into my family film playlist. The darkness breaks the chains. I like to have music that has a vocal singing voice, especially if I'm using a lot of slow motion. But then what I don't like is when I have dialogue from my family that has to go over the top of music that has singing. I just don't think that it goes well together. I prefer there to just be instrumental if my clients are going to be talking in the film. So what I will often do is, if let's say that I've chosen this song For Everyone, the Eastern Plain, I would go ahead and download that. But then I would also go ahead and find the instrumental version of that song, and I would also download that. Because what I could do then is layer the two, and then I can easily find a spot where the singing stops and the instrumental can begin. Let me show you what that would look like. You can see right here, I did decide to transition the music. Now let me show you what I did. Remember when I was talking before about using the instrumental version? I found a natural break where the singing could stop, and then I transitioned to the instrumental version so that when I had a lot of these spoken audio parts, that it didn't interfere. So let me show you that. So if you remember, it was just singing the whole time. But what essentially happened is I didn't like how she was singing. It just sort of got faded out while she was singing. So I made the choice to use kind of a natural spot where she stopped singing. And then I transitioned into the instrumental so that it was a cleaner break to go in and out. So just a subtle shift. And then we go into their song, and then we come back. Again with the instrumental, because we have a lot of talking that's happening now. Here, so then I found another natural spot where it would be nice for it to transition back to the voice version of the song. Because now we're outside, and the next thing they did was jump on the trampoline, and I took slow motion. I would not use any of the audio that came along with the camera for this portion, because it's going to sound like if you've heard slow-mo audio, it sounds creepy, right? So I don't use any of it. Now I'm going to transition back into the song where they're singing. So we're leaving the kitchen. Now we're going back into the yard. And now she's singing again while they flip and jump and have a family time on the trampoline. Are you having fun yet? I really hope so. Next, I'm going to show you quite a few more tweaks that you can make to your film to really enhance your final client story. So let me show you some things that I did. Here's actually the final timeline, how it ended up. Let me show you some things I did to enhance the film. So I went on, and for their dirt bike scene, what I did was I kind of created this effect where their transitions, I just used some more transitions that were a little more exciting. And then when they go to jump, I made it sound like, we were taking some still photos of them jumping. And that's basically done by just finding the clip where you want to do the picture, basically. And then what I did was I took a export frame, so basically a screenshot of the film screen, and then that gets imported into your project as a JPEG, and then I just used that JPEG as like the quote-unquote photo. Found a sound effect that sounded like a camera clicking, so then the effect becomes, and it really kind of just gives the film a little bit more of a dynamic feel again. This is more advanced stuff that I like to do. And I use some different some zoom and light leak effects just to make the transitions a little bit more exciting than going from one clip to the other, since this scene is a little bit more, I guess, like fun and fast. And when I edited the clip too, instead of just having the camera, I had zoomed the camera away from the subject, and I just put an effect on the end to make it a little more interesting. And now, of course, it's not going to load because Premiere sometimes is really slow. You're going to want to find your Lumetri color panel over here. This here is my totally final film. I already have it color corrected. I'm going to show you how I would do that though. I'm going to go back to this one that's not totally finished, but it'll do the job for showing me. Okay, so for color correction, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to down here, new item, hit adjustment layer. It's going to automatically pull the video settings and just leave all that, hit OK. And then I'm going to pull the adjustment layer onto the project. What an adjustment layer is I can make adjustments to this layer here. Like for example, if I want to make sure it's clicked, and then if I add a bunch of yellow, it's going to add yellow only to this adjustment layer. So if I turned it off, the clip underneath is not being affected, only this adjustment layer. So it's a way that you can quickly add the same adjustments to all of your clips without having to go through one by one. Now I don't want to actually add that much yellow. I'm going to go down to the creative tab. I'm going to make sure the adjustment layer is chosen. I'm going to find like a pretty appropriate clip to start off my color. So like maybe the house here. And then I'm going to go under look and find what's called a LUT, a lookup table. So LUTs are what in photography would be a preset, right? So it's going to be like a look for your film. So you can go through. Premiere Pro will give you a few of them. I have purchased a few that I like. So you're just going to basically find a LUT that is going to fit the feel of your film. That sort of gives it a little bit of a boost. So I'm not technically adjusting color here. I'm more adjusting, this is for adjusting contrast, giving the film an overall kind of look and feel. So I'm just going to make sure that adjustment layer gets pulled over the entire thing. And then what I'm going to do after I know that I have, so let's say that I like this LUT, that I can also adjust the intensity of the LUT. So maybe I don't want it to be as intense or more intense. I usually just leave it at 0 because I like the way that these LUTs look. So what I'm going to do is after I have pulled it all the way, just to make sure I'm not accidentally adjusting the adjustment layer, I'm going to lock it. And then now I'm going to go down to each individual clip and any sort of small adjustments that need to get made so that my film looks color corrected. I'm going to do that on each clip now. So for example, this looks fine to me. Color looks fine, exposure looks fine. I'm going to leave that. So I'm just going to go through each clip and adjust. Okay, so all of these look fine because they were outside and I had my white balance. See, let's see. This clip looks a tiny bit overexposed, the top of the bus. Now, video is harder to edit, but I might just bring this exposure down a tiny bit and maybe even bring these shadows down. And it might not save the clip, and that's okay because it's a short clip. It's just building our story. That's fine. The kid's getting off the bus. Let me find a clip that I need to adjust a little bit more. So, for example, here, we're come into the house. Ooh. That actually looks kind of nice. So this one right here looks a little bit dark to me. So look at, we're in the kitchen. The kitchen is nice and bright. Even this clip right here could use just a little bit of a bump in exposure. So the easy way to do this, just go to the basic correction tab and use your adjustment sliders. These are very similar to what would be in Lightroom: exposure, contrast, highlights, shadows, whites, blacks. If you are more advanced with how you use curves, there are curves panels. You can absolutely go in and use your curves panels. If you're not familiar with curves, play around with it, get to know them. But then I would go on. Again, this one looks a little dark to me too. I'm just gonna make sure that the clip is highlighted, and then I'm gonna go ahead and do some basic adjustments to it. Bring out my shadows, and then I'm gonna keep going through. So I'm gonna micro adjust each clip so that they match. This is dark again. So again, I'm gonna bring my exposure up so they are closer to matching. This feels a little flat to me too, so I might even bring in a little bit of contrast to the clip just to give it a little bit more punch. And now they're singing. Now, because I have my adjustment layer doing the heavy lifting, I'm just micro adjusting each clip so that everything matches and looks great together. Again, here's something else that's a tiny bit underexposed. I'm just going to bring it up so that it matches the overall look of the rest of the clips and it doesn't seem so disjointed. So that is what I would do next for the entire film. So this right here is the total finished project. You can see I did a little stuff with some things with the music. I have my adjustment layer. Sometimes I have to cut the adjustment layer up and move a section of it so that, because I had extra effects going on right here. It's just, you do what you have to do to finish the film. I think it's really nice as a filmmaker to be able to put your stamp on the end of the film. I mean, this is not for everybody. I personally do this, but I like to have my logo and then my name pop up at the very last slide. It's only a couple of seconds long, but it helps show anybody who's watching it who created the film. And it's almost like a mini commercial for me, because if anyone is looking at this thinking it's fantastic and they want to have it done, my information is in the video. They can go look me up. At the end, I just wanted to really quickly show you, once your film is over, I always like to add at the end a graphics template, and you can choose whatever you want. I usually just use the really simple ones, but I like to put the family name at the end. Some people put it at the beginning, it's your choice, and the year, just so the family remembers. And then I also do like to put, kind of a little end plate at the end. It's sort of marketing for me, but just almost like a watermark on your own photo. It's just nice to have, here's this film, it's by me, here's my website, just for anybody that might be watching that's not the family, that might want to know who created it. You have it embedded within the film here. And that's something that I created and turned into a graphics template myself. But you could just do something simple like your logo coming on the screen. And then this is just, again, one of these really simple graphic templates that I changed the info on so that it just comes in and goes out. It's super simple. To put it in photography terms, if these were different layers, if I had the logo on one layer and my graphics template with the text on another layer, and I've edited it the way I wanted it, you can almost, for lack of a better way of putting it, if you think about Photoshop and layers, you can almost flatten it. And then after you flattened it, it's all on one clip, and then you can export that as a graphic template. So if I go up here and I just search Emerald, you're going to see that I have it created and ready to go for me. The most exciting time. Are you ready? Let's export. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to export our film. The first thing we want to do is that we make sure we have our in and out points marked. You're going to go to the very beginning of your film and press the I button. The I means in, and then you're going to go to the very end of your film, find the very last second you want to be on film, and then you're going to press the O button for out. And now you can see that it's highlighted up here on the timeline. All of that is highlighted. There's my in and my out point. So even if I have a couple extra clips that I put back here that maybe I was going to use, it doesn't accidentally export those clips as well. I don't want those in my project. I only want it to the end point. And then I'm going to go up to the export tab. You're going to name it whatever you want it. You're going to find the location you want to put it. So if you click that, this box will come up and you can figure out where you want to put it. There are custom presets in here. They're usually pretty good. So what I like to do is I go ahead and find the 4K, which is the 2160, and I just press the high quality 2160p 4K. You can also just hit match source and that'll do it for you. And then I like to do render at maximum depth, use render quality. Some of these will increase the size of the final file, but also it's going to increase the quality of it. Leave all the rest of this. This is all fine. And then down here at bitrate encoding. Bitrate is the amount of information that your film is going to export per second. So how many bits per second, basically, the bitrate. And obviously moving this up and down is going to change the size of your film drastically. And there's a couple choices. So constant bitrate means that I choose a bitrate, like 80, let's say. And you can go like this and type in the actual number, 80. And what it's going to do is that every single second is going to be, a constant bit rate of 80, regardless of if the clip requires more or less bits per second. That's really layperson's way of putting it. So it's going to be a constant bit rate. Now we have variable bit rate, which means that Premiere is going to assess each second and figure out how many bits the film needs per second to meet the best quality, and then it's going to adjust it. Some seconds of the film may need more bits than other seconds, so it's going to vary the bit rate based on what's best for your film. This is going to save room. Your file is going to be a lot smaller than if you choose constant bit rate. Now what the pass means is that the video is going to make a pass through your film from the first second to the last and make those adjustments. It can either make one pass or two passes. So you're going to want to choose, I like to do a VBR 2 pass. I like to choose a target bit rate. So this is the target where you want most of your clips to end up 80 or around 80, a little less, a little more. And then you can also set your max bit rate. I like to set this at 100. That means it's not gonna let any clips, it's not gonna let any clips go over 100. And then that helps keep your film at a decent size as well. So that's what I like to do for variable bit rate. So just to review, I'm gonna go up here and I'm gonna either choose the high quality 4K if that's what I'm shooting, or if you're shooting 2180, you're going to want to choose the high quality 2180. The other way to set that is just to go match source. I'm going to choose render at maximum depth. I'm going to choose use maximum render quality. I'm going to leave all this alone. And then I'm going to come down to my bitrate settings, choose VBR 2 pass, 80 and 100. And that's it for video settings. For audio settings, I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna make sure that my bitrate for audio, you can leave all of this stuff alone. Usually it does a really good job of figuring this out. I like to be at least at 320, if not 448. Again, 448 is gonna make your file bigger, but depending on how much audio you have, it's gonna be better quality. I think 320 is gonna be fine for this project. And then you can just leave the rest of this alone as well. And then you can go ahead and either send it to your media encoder, or you can hit the export button.
Now that you've seen my workflow for family films, I hope that the concept isn't daunting and that you can dive right in and get started. Keep in mind, there are so many ways you can edit and so many different workflows that you can adopt. This is just the way that I like to do things. I have kind of stolen little pieces from a lot of people who taught me. So figure out what works best for you and develop your own workflow. I'm hoping that you can take one or two things that I taught you here today into your workflow to help make things easier on yourself. Be sure to check out this playlist. It's full of videos all about how, as a photographer, you can add video to your services. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you next time.